Why is it that when someone pulls away from you, your first instinct is to chase after them, to show them just how much you're hurting, how much you care, hoping that somehow your pain will make them turn around and come back to you? I've been there. You've been there. That desperate feeling when someone you care about starts creating distance, and suddenly it feels like the ground beneath you is crumbling. Your mind races with questions. What did I do wrong? Why isn't she responding to me anymore? How can I make her see how much I care? So you do what feels natural. You text her more. You call. You show up. You make it clear that you're hurt, that her absence is causing you pain. Because somewhere deep down, you believe that if she sees how much you're suffering, she'll realize what she's losing and come back. But why doesn't it work? Why does showing your hurt feelings seem to push her even further away? Think about it. When was the last time someone's display of neediness actually made you want to get closer to them? When was the last time someone's desperate attempts to pull you back made you think, wow, I really want to be around this person more? That's the painful paradox we need to understand today. The behaviors that feel most natural when we're hurt, the constant reaching out, the emotional displays, the attempts to generate guilt or sympathy are precisely the behaviors that create even more distance. The truth is hard to hear, but necessary. Acting hurt doesn't inspire attraction. It doesn't create desire. It doesn't build respect. In fact, it does the opposite. When you show someone that their absence devastates you, you're unintentionally communicating something profound, that you don't have an internal foundation of security and self-worth that exists independently of their presence or approval. And that's not a burden anyone wants to carry. So what's the alternative? If showing your hurt pushes her away, what approach actually works? What could possibly make her miss the person you used to be in her eyes? The answer might surprise you with its simplicity, though not with its difficulty. You need to genuinely become okay without her. Not pretending to be okay, not acting like you're fine when you're falling apart inside, but actually rebuilding your sense of self, your joy, your purpose, and your direction, regardless of whether she ever comes back. This is where most advice gets it wrong. People will tell you to just ignore her, or pretend you don't care, or make her jealous. But these are all performances, and performances are exhausting to maintain. They're also transparent to anyone paying attention. What actually works is the authentic reconstruction of your life, not as a strategy to win her back, but as a commitment to yourself. Let's break this down into what it actually means in practice. First, you need to accept the current reality without resistance. She's pulled away. The dynamic has changed. Fighting against this truth only keeps you trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment. Radical acceptance doesn't mean you like what's happening. It just means you stop wasting energy denying it. Second, you need to return to the foundation of what makes you, you. What did you care about before this relationship? What skills were you developing? What goals were you pursuing? What made your friends value your company? What made you feel alive and engaged with the world? These elements of your identity didn't disappear. They just got overshadowed by the relationship. Now is the time to bring them back into focus. Third, you need to restructure your time and energy. The hours you spent texting her, thinking about her, analyzing her behavior, planning ways to reconnect. All that mental and emotional bandwidth now gets redistributed to things that actually move your life forward. This isn't about distracting yourself from pain. It's about creating a life that's genuinely fulfilling on its own terms. Fourth, and this is crucial, you need to give her the psychological space to miss you. When you're constantly appearing in her notifications, you're not giving her brain the opportunity to wonder about you. You're not allowing any vacuum that her thoughts of you could fill. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the human mind. When you create space, you create the conditions for curiosity to emerge. But here's where many people get stuck. They do all these things as a tactic, not as a genuine embrace of their own growth. They think, if I work on myself for 2 weeks, she'll come back. Then, when 2 weeks pass and nothing changes, they give up and revert to showing their hurt. Real transformation doesn't work on a convenient timeline. It happens through consistent small choices over time that gradually reshape who you are and how you engage with the world. So, what does this look like in reality? It means waking up and immediately focusing on what you want to accomplish today, not checking if she viewed your story or answered your text. It means reconnecting with friends not to talk about her, but to actually be present with them. It means setting new goals for yourself physically, intellectually, socially, not to impress her, but because growth is inherently rewarding. It means dealing with the emotional waves when they come, and they will come, without acting on them. Feel the sadness, the anger, the confusion. Acknowledge it, then let it pass through you without letting it dictate your actions. This path is harder. It's much easier to text her at 2 a.m. telling her how much you miss her than it is to sit with that feeling and redirect that energy towards something constructive. It's easier to hope for a quick solution than to commit to a longer process of rediscovering yourself. But the rewards of taking the harder path aren't just about whether she comes back, they're about what you become in the process. Here's what happens when you genuinely focus on rebuilding yourself without making it about her. You start enjoying your life again. You remember what it feels like to be driven by your own desires and curiosity rather than by someone else's validation. You reconnect with the version of yourself that she was initially attracted to. And yes, it's often at this point, when you've actually stopped strategizing about how to get her back, that she becomes curious about the shift she senses in you. Because what's attractive isn't someone who's completed a checklist of self-improvement tasks in order to win someone back. What's attractive is someone who's living with purpose, authenticity, and inner security. She was drawn to you initially because of how you made her feel when she was with you. That feeling wasn't created by your focus on her. It was created by who you were as a person with your own intact identity. When you rediscover that person, the one who existed before the relationship, the one whose worth wasn't tied to her responses, you naturally become someone she might find herself missing. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural consequence of focused self-development. The energy you previously directed outward toward trying to manage her perception now gets directed inward toward building something sustainable. The beautiful irony is that the surest way to become someone she misses is to focus on becoming someone who would be fine if she never came back. That kind of authentic transformation is magnetic in a way that displays of hurt can never be. It commands respect rather than demanding attention. It creates attraction rather than generating obligation. But there's a warning I need to give you. This approach comes with no guarantees about her response. She might come back, or she might not. She might regret pulling away, or she might be relieved that you're finally giving her space. You can't control that outcome. The only thing you can control is whether you use this challenging time to become smaller or larger as a person, to retreat into hurt or to expand into growth, to wait passively for someone else's validation or to actively create a life that feels meaningful on its own terms. The choice sounds simple, but we both know it isn't easy. Emotions don't respond to logic. Hearts don't heal on command. Moving forward doesn't mean you won't have moments where you slide back into old patterns. But each time you make the harder choice, the choice to focus on rebuilding yourself rather than displaying your hurt, you strengthen the foundation of who you are. You become more resilient, more self-sufficient, more attractive, not just to her, but to everyone who encounters you. And that's the ultimate goal here. Not to perform a role designed to manipulate someone else's feelings, but to actually become the best version of yourself. Someone who isn't devastated by another person's absence because you know your own worth isn't dependent on their presence. So stop acting like you're hurt, not by burying your feelings or pretending they don't exist, but by channeling that emotional energy into genuine growth. Create the space for her to potentially miss you by focusing on creating a life you genuinely enjoy living. Because at the end of the day, whether she comes back or not, you'll have something more valuable, a rediscovered sense of who you are, what you want, and what you're capable of creating for yourself. And that's something no one can ever take away from you.